The Panasonic GH4 looks, feels, and operates more like a DSLR than any mirrorless camera I've used. And it's also the most powerful and full-featured video camera I've seen. So I usually cover the still features first and then video, but I'm much more excited by the video features, which include advanced functionality and professional capabilities I've not seen in this class. 4K is supported with both Cinema 4K and UHD, along with many video features usually missing from a still camera. Live video and HDMI, audio in jack and headphone jack, and no 30-minute limit, for most modes anyway. System settings, so you can shoot in true 60, 25, and 24 frame standards. Data rates up to 200 megabits per second. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Here it is. Classic SLR styling with a viewfinder in line with the lens. Size and weight comparable to an entry-level DSLR. The pebbly black finish, big mode dial, dedicated shutter and aperture dials under your forefinger and thumb, all very reminiscent of traditional cameras. Big hand grip, focus selector, drive mode dial. The LCD spins out and turns nearly 360 degrees like a camcorder for shooting high, low, or in front. Very useful. There are dedicated buttons for white balance, ISO, EV, video record, playback, and display mode switching. 5 fully customizable function buttons. Both the flash and the dedicated SD card door recall DSLR design. But let's stop there. This is a mirrorless camera with an electronic viewfinder and a 16 megapixel micro four thirds sensor. For video, all of those are good things. There's no mirror to move out of the way, that odd live view setting. The viewfinder works while shooting video, and as it turns out, that 16 megapixel resolution matches with 8 megapixel 4K video really well. This camera seems designed for the prosumer, advanced hobbyist, or enthusiastic amateur, whatever that category is called now. To start, the GH4 has 3 system settings to set the camera's operating frequency to the desired frame rate. On page 5 of the setup menu. 60 frames, specified as 59.94 Hz to account for an old NTSC broadcast analog color system peculiarity, 50 for PAL, and 24 for cinema frame rate. Each change requires the camera to restart. This provides true 24 frame recording, not 24 frames packaged into 60 using 3-tube pull down. And if you're going for cinema release, or at least to try to look like it, choose 24. If you're going to be connecting directly to a TV, use the TV system, NTSC or PAL, depending on your geography. For online distribution or computer playback, it really doesn't matter. This video has been produced as 24 frame Cinema 4K, and a bug identifies the settings of the original recording. Each system rate imposes limitations or adds specific functions. For example, the 4K digital cinema resolution, 4096 by 2160, is only available in System 24. Cinema 4K is the same pixel height, but slightly wider than TV or UHD 4K, which at 3840 by 2160 is an exact multiple of 1920 by 1080, 4 times as many pixels. Although you can start recording video in any mode using the Video Record button, the full video capabilities are available after selecting Creative Video mode on the dial. All video functions are available, and some functionality changes. The shutter button becomes a Video Record button. I like that. Wise up, everybody else. Select Focus mode using this dial. Focus isn't very fast. You can soft press the shutter to focus while recording, but be careful. Remember, the shutter now also stops recording.
Your life and your fate, reaching knowledge, give up, they say.
There's also the option to use the touchscreen to focus, useful for a focus shift in the middle of a shot. Best done with a tripod so the touch doesn't move the camera unintentionally. This movie menu setting turns on continuous autofocus. Not so fast either, although, to be fair, the camera does advise that autofocus is degraded while using the HDMI output. Still, obviously, manual focus works fine, the distance display appears and peaking is available, but there's no expanded view while recording. It would be nice if the viewfinder had the extended display while an external monitor recorder was connected. A good set of peaking options make that a partially moot point. I set Focus as the custom function on the AFAE lock button, which works, but not once you start recording video. In Creative Movie mode, all of the still photo styles are available, as well as Cine-like D, a gamma curve that optimizes dynamic range. Here's the comparison. And Cine-like V, that optimizes contrast. But let's set our white balance first. 4 custom white balance options which I would highly recommend you use. Press up, point the camera at a white surface in the current lighting conditions, press down to make further adjustments. Very comprehensive. In addition to the Cine-like D and V settings, manual gamma adjustment is available in the highlight shadow setting. Use one of 4 presets or create 3 custom curves. Making these adjustments, similar to adjusting highlight and shadow in Lightroom or Photoshop, creates custom S-curves. Although you can't adjust the midpoint, there is a great deal of flexibility available here, not only to accommodate challenging shooting conditions, but to create a look for your production. By combining a highlight shadow curve with a custom photo style, you can simulate what video cameras typically call profiles. Here, the exaggerated gamma, reduced sharpness and noise reduction, along with a slightly reduced saturation and a hue shift, create a very stylized image. The GH4's controls are meant to be adjusted by eye, but if you're curious, you'll find lots of online resources to help you understand gamma and S-log curves. In general, you would make these adjustments to capture more highlight and shadow information while shooting, and then use color grading software in post-production to restore and enhance the image to achieve a specific look. I've recorded this video using the standard linear gamma curve. And if you're going to make these adjustments, make sure you test both the recording and the post-production color grading before starting a big project. The GH4's variable frame rate enables slow or fast motion by changing the number of frames recorded per second. This feature, sometimes called cranking, isn't available in 4K resolutions. The quality selection screen shows when VFR is supported. You can set the rate from 2 frames per second, which speeds the action to 12 times when played back at 24 frames, or up to 96 frames per second, which slows to 1/4 speed played back at 24 frames. And there are a bunch in between for more subtle effects. Full manual exposure for video, and the ability to set gain, a better term than ISO for video. On page 6 of the video menu, there's a setting to change the terminology. This setting renames shutter speed, actually the time value of the shutter, and the ISO to use film video terms. I've chosen seconds and decibels. Gain is measured in decibels to describe the amount of amplification. The range is 30 dB. Each 3 dB change effectively doubles the amplification, just as each change in f-stop doubles the amount of light. Shutter angle is film talk. In this case, it's a reference term as there is no rotating shutter disc. One of the things you can't do is lower the shutter speed below the frame rate, so at 24 frames, 1/25th, even with variable frame rate at 2. Typically I would shoot 24 frame at 1/50th and 30 at 1/60th, but slower speeds can provide interesting blur effects. Shutter goes up to 1/8000th. Considering everything that's here, I'm puzzled that there's no ND filter, which is essential if you're trying to keep your shutter at 1/50th. You might not be shooting much skating, but without ND I had to turn down to 1/200th, which to my eye makes the motion a little spastic. Good quality internal mics and excellent audio support. On-screen meters, although I thought the level showed a little higher than the recording. Mic level adjust in decibels, a limiter that can be disabled, wind and lens noise settings, and an audio sync setting, although some of these settings are not available when the HDMI output is used. There are 3 record formats, AVCHD, MP4, or MOV, all based on H.264. Between system frequency, resolution, frame rate, and data rate, there are 36 combinations. AVCHD has a maximum resolution of 1920 by 1080 and a maximum data rate of 28 megabits. For most modes, recording time is limited only by available space. That means a 64 gigabyte card holds 1 hour and 25 minutes of cinema 4K 24p, recorded in 15 4GB file chunks. No time limit, no overheating, and the battery easily lasts for that long. I used a Panasonic UHS-1 Speed Class 3 type, which I thought was needed to support the high bit rates, but a few tests on a Class 1 card didn't throw up errors or fail, even at the highest data rates. HD and lower resolutions have a time limit of 30 minutes or a file size limit of 4GB. At 24, MP4 with LPCM audio and MOV are available, with a maximum resolution of 4096 by 2160 and a maximum data rate of 100 megabits, as well as a 60 frame mode 1920 by 1080 with a data rate of 200 megabits. The 200 megabits rate is an all-intra rate, which samples every frame instead of recording only the difference from the previous frame. Typically, your editing software reconstructs the intra frames. Here you're saving more, better data. After trying them all, I decided that I'd shoot either 24-frame Cinema 4096, 60-frame at 3840, or 1920. Remember, one of the advantages of shooting 4K for final output at 1920 is the ability to zoom and pan in post. And I find that even when it's down-resed, original 4K looks better in 1920 than native 1920. The quick menu is useful, but limited. If there are options for settings, they're only available from the main menu. For example, you can select a custom photo style but not make adjustments to it. I also find the quick menu navigation awkward. Left-right to select a setting, down to modify it, then left-right to select the new setting, even if it's in 2 rows, like the photo style menu, then up to return. Takes a little getting used to. There are several modes for taking photos and videos simultaneously, a topic I covered in more detail in my LX100 review. The features are the same here. There are several features specifically for broadcast video engineers, useful when a camera must be integrated into a production environment. Color bars available in 3 formats with 1 kHz tone, timecode with several options but not user bits, the ability to set pedestal, the lowest level in a video signal part of a waveform, and the luminance, the range of allowed signal. This is deep broadcast TV tech. In order to be broadcast safe, signals may not exceed 100 IRE units. You can see that on a waveform. And zero black isn't exactly tolerated in NTSC, so pedestal adjustment allows the engineer to set the black at the mandated 7.5 level. None of this mumbo-jumbo matters on the web. And although you may see some difference, particularly by adjusting the pedestal level, I recommend you leave these settings at their default until a broadcast engineer tells you differently, or use them for some effect. I wondered how relevant or useful this might be, so I got out my color grayscale chip chart. I set manual exposure with a shutter at 1/30th, 0 dB gain with a flat highlight shadow curve. I set the zebra to 100, exposed until the meter showed 1/3 stopover, no zebra. Pedestal is 0, luminance 0 to 255, that should provide the widest range. The histogram shows we're not really at black or white. We're looking at a dirty HDMI out recording. Let's switch to the 4K file. The inset shows a waveform image. This is the display broadcast engineers use to evaluate those 100 IRE units. By the way, here's what color bars look like on a waveform. Those 6 gray chips across the top, I'm going to crop for a second so you can identify those on the waveform, should range evenly from 0 to 100. As predicted on the histogram, shadows didn't extend to 0 and highlights are under 100. So let's try adjusting the pedestal. -15, +15, and the 3 luminance settings. Counterintuitively, a pedestal of -15 and luminance range of 16 to 255 would appear to provide the best results. A little color correction in Final Cut, lowering shadows and raising highlights gets us a full 100 units of dynamic range. But the gray chips are not evenly spread. The bottom 3 have a wider range than the top 3. And let's see if those highlight shadow curves can help. I thought reducing the highlights half would spread the chips out. So here's -3, and then I made a few more adjustments in Final Cut. And now -5 again with the adjustments in Final Cut. Not ideal, but probably better. So let's bring back the tulips for a real-world demo. Here, without all the pedestal, luminance, highlight, shadow, and Final Cut adjustments. Now with the in-camera settings, and now adding the adjustments made in Final Cut color correction. Well, use the comments to let me know what you think. What you can see is that both in camera and in post-production, this gives you a lot to mess with. Now, I suspect, and I'm sure you do too, that these settings are designed to control the video output, not to adjust the internal recordings. So these scenes are taken from the HDMI output recorded on an Atomos Ninja Star. All of these adjustments look a little more meaningful on an external recording. Panasonic sells an optional Pro interface unit, the pricey YAG, with XLR audio connectors and SDI video. If you just want XLR, there are less expensive alternatives, but the YAG is likely a great solution if you need SDI, serial digital interface, to connect to a production TV system. The GH4 can produce a higher quality output on the optional SDI or the integrated HDMI output than it's capable of recording. You'll need an Atomos Shogun or similar external recorder. The HDMI output settings provide a 422, those numbers indicate luminance and color samples, at 8 and 10-bit, although when set to 10-bit you can't simultaneously record internally. Clean and dirty outputs, with the data overlay, can be selected. I've recorded the screens for this video from the dirty HDMI output, but note that the display isn't the same as the LCD. Although downresed here, it's clearly designed for 4K monitors with an HD resolution menu screen overlay. Powerful. The mode dial has a lock button. Press the center. I wish focus and shutter could also be locked against accidental adjustment, something that with multi-purpose dials happens more frequently than I'd like. I had 3 lenses, a 20mm f1.7 prime, as well as a video-friendly 35-100, and a 45-200 that's best used for stills. With the micro 4/3 crop, you have to double focal length for 35 equivalent, so all of these lenses are tighter than they sound. And while the 35-100 is versatile with a non-ramping iris of f2.8, I'd really love something wider. Between the various manufacturers in the micro 4/3 camp, there's a good lens selection. For stills, you can shoot in RAW, JPEG, or dual modes. There are 3 resolutions and 4 aspect ratios. And this seems as good a time as any to complain about the menu system's ability to dim out items with no explanation of what needs to be done to access the setting. For instance, here, I can't access aspect ratio, which I figure out by trial and error is because I have an external recorder connected. Panasonic has the most powerful autofocus settings I've encountered, from face and eye detection to custom zones, which I'm determined to find a use for one day. Focus can be disengaged from the shutter and set using the AFAE lock button. If this technique, usually called back focus, is unfamiliar to you, try it for a week. Use your thumb to focus and index finger to release. Quite powerful once you get the hang of it, particularly here where the focus is slow. The LCD is a touchscreen. Touch to focus on the object and snap. Did I mention that it's great in low light and takes fabulous food pictures with perfect white balance? Panasonic also includes an interesting collection of artistic filters, selected using the dial's creative control mode. It's a good list made more interesting by the ability to modify one or more settings. Set the saturation in this mode, or adjust the position and color for the sunshine filter. Yes, they're available for video, but not in video mode, a fairly significant limitation. There's a drive mode dial, again, a comprehensive suite of settings. Fast and long-lasting burst mode, perfect for sports. Bracket that extends from 3 shots with 1/3 to 7 shots with a full stop. Self-timer with 3 shots on a 10-second delay. The most powerful native time-lapse I've seen, and stop motion. And I haven't seen this before. Shutter delay setting holds the shutter for up to 8 seconds after you press. Useful for time exposure so you don't shake the camera while pushing the shutter. The GH4 has Wi-Fi operation for remote control, and as with other cameras it's a bit gimmicky, not completely reliable, But Panasonic's app is comprehensive and very useful in some situations, although all of the app's features are not available on the GH4. Geotagging, which transfers GPS data from a smartphone to the camera, is. Clearly, I've not covered the still features with the same depth and detail as the video. And I don't mean to shortchange the still features. They're as powerful as I've seen, equal to the extensive video feature set in every way. And either way you look at the GH4, the best video camera with an amazing still mode or vice versa, it currently sits at the top of my listings for interchangeable lens mirrorless cameras.